And I'm back. I'm back, everybody. And I just need to adjust it a little bit. There we go. Let me make sure that my audio is doing well. It is. It's coming through where it needs to come through. It's been a long time. Welcome, everybody, to the screen. It is a Thursday night. And I'm back from vacation, which means I got a lot of content ahead of me, and I need to stop slacking. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God, a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. Not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about a wide variety of issues, topics, current events, and give you my perspective on them. One that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years, non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Some days I'll get it wrong. Or some days I'll get it right. Many days I'll get it wrong. But either way, what you'll get from me is honest takes on how I see things if I'm on here streaming. So if you are somebody who is new to Christianity, maybe not a Christian, but interested in becoming one, or at least learning about Christianity. Maybe you're worried about getting, maybe you're worried about talking to a priest about it, talking to a pastor, talking about some sort of professional or popular influencer who is going to, knock your socks off with theology quotes and doing other things. You just want to hear it from the average guy, right? Somebody who you might be sitting next to in church. Look over to him and be like, "Hey, guy, why do you believe this? Or what does Christianity mean to you?" That's what you're going to get here. It's going to be relaxed. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to be personal. It's going to be cozy, right? It's going to be those kind of things, and that's what we want to that's what we want to provide here for you. Comfortable in the fact that you don't feel like there's any airs being put on, or there's not much formality, that there's personality throughout from me, from the chat. But we're going to talk about topics that might make you feel uncomfortable, but in a way that I want to present where you feel comfortable talking about it or asking questions about it, or maybe just listening. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about Christianity, a lot of misconceptions about church. Some of them, unfortunately, perpetrated by Christians and churches, and many more perpetrated by people who are enemies of the faith or folks who don't understand it anyways. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Glad to have you here. You'll find that we run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. Like I said, very relaxed, very informal, but somewhat disciplined, at least in how we're approaching the content. Going through the Bible right now, book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and reacting to it. But regardless of whether you are a Christian, been one forever, and you may know more about theology in the Bible than I do, which is certainly possible and probably quite easy, or you are just somebody looking for something, I encourage you to join the chat, listen to it. The folks there, we have a good group of regulars tuning in and night out, and they make the show better. Your comments will make this show better. And I say this all the time. I am thankful for the folks who tune in and participate. But if you just want to listen, or if you're just catching this on replay, that's fine as well. I'm just happy that you find this content good enough and compelling enough that you continue to tune in. And if that's the case, hey, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel, and share the channel, promote it where you can. I mean, I'm not even set up for super chats, but even if I was, and even if I do sometime in the future reach that, I don't need or want any of that stuff, especially as small of a channel as I am right now. That's not something I'm interested in. What I am interested in is advertising. Grifting viewers, word of mouth. If you've got a place, if you know somebody who you think would benefit from the stream, be interested in it, by all means share it with them. Tell people around if you're in other chats that this is a place to check out. I would very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. And with that said, we're going to have a bit of a short stream tonight, I think. And I say that knowing fully well what that usually means. It usually means that this shit channel will be on for another hour and a half. But I'm very tired. Been on vacation since last week. Went down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, which is one of my favorite places to go. Had a grand old time with friends. Had my kids meet cousins that they haven't met. Some haven't met them ever. Some haven't seen each other since they were literally a year old. And it was good to see that. It was good to hang out with family that didn't involve a funeral, which feels like that's been the only time we've been able to get together recently, and we hate that. But this is good times. This is good times where people get to sit down and talk and have good memories made. And again, the kids enjoying the beach and the ocean, watching how much my son has advanced in his boogie boarding skills. Almost this brings a tear to my eye. And one day he'll be as good as his dear old dad. So that's good. Nico is back in the chat. Welcome, sir. Glad to see you. Haven't seen you around in a while. And first, just like old times, Emmanuel Osorio is here. Welcome, sir. Hope your travels are doing well. Alex Moore, welcome, sir. Always good to see you. Alex is a regular on Blaine's Escape Corners chat. I feel like we have a lot in common. We have a similar background. Very similar background. Nico. Wait, I've already said that. MR, that's who I was looking for. Hey, guys, tough week. We'll be back next stream. Just wanted to say hi. MR, tough weeks are going to happen. Hope you're getting through it. Make sure to go to the Lord in prayer and take your troubles to Him. And we'll be thinking and praying for you that the load lightens for you, or that God directs you, is using this time to direct you into a better path, whatever's going on. Because we really don't know what's going on. But glad you're bringing some troubles, no matter how vague. That you never need to get into specifics on here or even talk about it. But if you're bringing them here, we certainly hope that you're able to get past that and come out better on the other side. And faith is the way for that. And there we go. So back from vacation, told you what I was doing. Got home just in time to jump on the Blaine stream last night. Then had kids that weren't feeling well, so I had to pop off for a bit. And still have family in town, so we were all swimming today and watching the kids again play together. So it was great. It's just great seeing them all get together and seeing their imaginations as they go through, do all the make-believe stuff that we used to do as kids, and just getting along. So God has blessed me with a great family. God has blessed me with great wife, great kids, great parents, great brother, great in-laws, great cousins, and nieces and nephews. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. So we are going to have possibly a short stream. We're going to be covering Ezra tonight, which we introduced right before I left, which I don't know if that was a good idea or a bad idea, but no matter what, that's in the past, and we're going to deal with it. But there wasn't much going on. Wasn't much that we were talking about going on in Ezra that really was really compelling. We were talking about a lot of people leaving. But what was important that we did talk about was Cyrus, king of Persia, had possession or rule, command over many of the displaced Israelites. Now, if you don't remember, when we left the Israelites in Second Kings and Second Chronicles, God had been like, enough. Enough. I've had enough of your mayhem, mischief, mayhem, and misinformation. I've had enough of your disrespect. I've had enough of your sin. And you're just blatant disregard for the covenant that we established. And it's written down. Look, guys, it's written down. It's supposed to be part of your passed down history, and you just don't care. So, since you don't care, if you're not going to take it seriously, if you're going to take it for granted, if you're going to act like it's owed to you, I'm going to have you removed, just like I had the Canaanites removed, right? So, in comes the invaders, out go the Israelites. And it happens in Israel, and it happens in Judah. And that's where we leave off. Now, Persia is now in control of things, right? And then the first year of Cyrus, the word comes upon him, and he says, "Look, I put the prophecy on Jeremiah, and you are going to allow the people to return." And Cyrus listens, right? Amazing that a Gentile is going to listen to God, but we've had generations of Israelites in Israel since Solomon don't care. And we've had many on again, off again generations of Israelites in Judah who didn't care. But this one king, a king who enjoys all the trappings of all the sinful, terrible kings of Israel and Judah, and who didn't listen, this one listens. What's going on, Blaine? How's it going, sir? He listens. Whoever's among all of you, whoever's among you of all his people, may his God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and rebuild the house of the Lord, the God of Israel. He is the God who is in Jerusalem. And let each survivor in whatever place he sojourns be assisted by the men of his place with silver and gold, with goods and with beasts, besides free will offerings for the house of God, which is Jerusalem. Listen, I'm going to listen while I shower after my workout. Just want you to picture that, Stu. I won't, because that would be sinful and disgusting and awkward. None of this stuff belongs. None of that. Wait. None of that belongs on here, except for me. The part where he says Stu. Stu belongs on the show. And no, I'm just getting ready to present because we're not talking about exactly what we're sharing tonight. I was just doing a catch up, but I'll go ahead and pull that up. Nico, he is streaming tonight. You are beautifully and wonderfully made for your spouse, who is not on this channel currently, or hosting it. Way to ruin the mood, Blaine. Anyway. By the way, Veritex, by the way, Lord deciding to do this is not something that blindsided them. He said he would in Deuteronomy 4:26 and Deuteronomy 6:15 and 11:16. Yes, okay, and several other points too. Veritex. All right, so let's back up a bit. Like I said, with God having had enough, he is this is not a new revelation that there is going to be some sort of reckoning if people don't held up their end of the bargain. It's not this is showing ridiculous amounts of patience. God probably gets a bad rap for his attitude in the Old Testament as being very fire and brimstone, very short tempered, very angry. What we see that he puts up with, just from what we've seen so far, we haven't even gotten to Hosea yet. Just from what we've seen so far, is ridiculous amounts of patience, mercy, understanding. Yeah, sometimes he gets personally involved to make an example out of somebody or a nation, but much more often we see him holding back his hand. God does not change. God is the truth. Christ is the truth. The Holy Spirit is the truth. God does not change, right? Unless he wants to. But in this, we are not seeing different. And Nico, who I remember, who was here for all this, again, the Israelites sin in the eyes of the Lord. So let's go back. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 4:26. And I think a lot of you weren't here when we were covering this. But Deuteronomy is basically Moses's farewell speech to the Israelite host. And it's, don't forget, these things are important. Don't forget what God has done for you. Don't forget this covenant that we've established. Don't forget these rules that we've put into place. Don't forget um, don't forget your end of the bargain. Don't forget that God is going to fulfill his promises. If you do what you're supposed to do, things are going to be great. If you ignore your responsibilities at your peril, because God will punish you. So going to Deuteronomy, we'll go through each of these verses. Thanks, Veritex, for providing that. Deuteronomy 4:26. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day that you will soon utterly perish from the land which you are going over the Jordan to possess. You will not live long upon it, but will be on its. I'm sorry. There's more to this. Let me read this with better context. When you beget children and children's children and have grown old in the land, if you act corruptly by making a graven image in the form of anything, and by doing what is evil in the sight of the Lord your God, so as to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day that you will soon utterly perish from the land which you are going over to the Jordan to possess. You will not live long upon it, but will be utterly destroyed. And the Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and you will be left few in number among the nations where the Lord will drive you. That's just it. This, look, carrot and the stick, right? Hang on. There is there's the warning, because before that he's talking about that we can talk, and maybe I'll just go back. Maybe this is it. Behold, I have taught you statutes and ordinances, as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do them in the land which you are entering to take possession of it. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of these peoples, who, when they hear all these statutes, will say, surely this is a great nation, or surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has statutes and ordinances so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Oh yeah, Veritax. He talks a lot about that. A lot about that. That's replete. Because, like I said, it's not just here. There's also parts where David talks about it. There's talks when different judges talk about it. There's parts with Solomon talks about it. All right, 6:15. For the Lord your You shall fear the Lord your God, you shall serve him and swear by his name. You shall not go after other gods of the gods of the peoples who are round about you, who are round about you. I like that. I like that's it's missing an apostrophe there. For the Lord your God in the midst of you is a jealous God, lest the anger of the Lord your God be kindled against you and he destroy you from the face of the earth. Warning, warning. And then finally, the last one you cited, 11:16. Take heed lest your hearts be deceived. Oh wait, hold on. Let's give this is the best one. This is the best example here, Veritax. This is the best one I think that you put, because this is going to give you the good and the bad. And if you will obey my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, he will give you the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the later rain, that you may gather in your grain and your wine and your oil. And he will give grass in your fields for your cattle, and you shall eat and be full. Take heed lest your heart be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and he shut up the heavens so that there be no rain, and the land yield no fruit, and you perish quickly off the good land which the good with the with which the Lord gives you. There it is. Do the right, things will be great, and you will be blessed. Do wrong, God is going to take away what you guys agreed upon. We're talking mostly about what happens when you do wrong because that is what the Israelites had decided to do. They decided to do wrong more often than they decided to do right. And it got to be so corrupt, and Israel was overwhelmingly corrupt all the time, that, I mean, how long can someone ignore that behavior? And then Judah was just waffling between moments of righteousness and periods of great degeneracy. So yeah, great citations there, Veritax. I appreciate that. Veritax is very similar to Nerneath in providing me context and resources to go back to. Blaine said, just a reminder of why we need grace? Yeah. Or mercy, not sure which applies here. And Veritex says, we likely need both. Exactly. We do need both. It's where the moral and civil law was laid down in effect, too. Yep. These are the things you only pick up on if you try to do the full Bible in a year. I think most studies take forever to get through the passages. Yeah. That's why I try to do it just a couple of chapters a night. That's enough to digest in an evening, enough to talk about and kind of get through at least my reactions and listen to what you guys are getting out of this. But it's great. It's a great period. So God basically said, all right, you're clearly not going to be able to, you're clearly not responsible enough for this, so I'm just going to remove you from this. And so they were conquered, their people were pulled away. There's a very small remaining, or very small remnant of Israelites left in Judah and Israel. But Cyrus has said, hey, guys, if you want to return and rebuild Jerusalem, I'm giving you a golden opportunity to do it, where you will be supported and sanctioned to do this thing. And so they've started moving. And the first 2 chapters really discuss this, and the second chapter mostly focused on who, what representatives from what tribes were going here. And tonight we're going to get more into the meat and potatoes of the activity going on. Now, after Ezra, we're going to get Nehemiah. Nehemiah, I think, is going to get, to me, Nehemiah is a better explanation of what's going on in Ezra. So it'll make clear more of these things. Why Nehemiah doesn't come before Ezra, maybe it'll become more clear when we read them. I can't think of a reason off the top of my head, but they're both there to read and understand. All right. So, beginning Ezra, 3rd chapter of Ezra, worship restored at Jerusalem. When the 7th month came, and the sons of Israel were in the towns, the people gathered as one man to Jerusalem. Then arose Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, with his fellow priests. Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, with his kinsmen, and they built the altar of the God of Israel to offer burnt offerings upon it, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. The man of God. They set the altar in its place, for fear was upon them because of the peoples of the lands, and they offered burnt offerings upon it to the Lord, burnt offerings morning and evening, 24-hour barbecue. And they kept the feasts of booths, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number according to the ordinance, as each day required. All right? As prescribed by Moses from in the beginning of all this. And after that, the continual burnt offerings, the offerings at the new moon, and at all the appointed feasts of the Lord, and the offerings of everyone who made a free will offering to the Lord. From the first day of the 7th month, they began to offer burnt offerings to the Lord. But the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. So they gave money to the masons and the carpenters, and food and drink and oil to the Sidonians and the Tyrians, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea, to Joppa, according to the grant which they had from Cyrus, king of Prussia. Not Prussia. Cyrus, king of Persia. Good night. So, what do we see here? Very humble, very obedient start to this. That's a good thing, right? That's how you... It's easier to continue to do good work if you start doing good from the beginning. And that's what they're doing. Hey, we understand what is prescribed to us by the rules, by this covenant from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David, etc. We know what the expectations are. We know what these rules are. So now we need to start following it by the letter. And what is number one? Offerings to God, honoring God, honoring God. We see so much of the, if you think of the first commandments, the first few commandments, what's going on, Figs? How's it going, sir? You think of the first few commandments, that's all it's very much centers around honoring God. All the 10 commandments are part of that, but really it seems like there's much more of the heart and soul of honoring God, putting him first in those commandments. So they're offering burnt offerings and thanks, because look, God put this in the heart of Cyrus. God put this prophecy in the mouth of Jeremiah that he is going to lead them back to remake Jerusalem. And it is quite the boon, because Cyrus is putting up some of his own money, some of the money from Persia, to make this happen. And so they have Sidonians and Tyrians doing some of the masonry there. Foundation laid for the temple. Now, in the second year of their coming to the house of God at Jerusalem, in the second month, Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, son of Jozadak, made a beginning, together with the rest of their brethren, the priests and the Levites, and all who had come to Jerusalem from the captivity. They appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward to have the oversight of the work of the house of the Lord. And Jeshua with his sons and his kinsmen, and Kadmiel and his sons, the sons of Judah, together took the oversight of the workmen in the house of God, along with the sons of Henadad and the Levites, their sons and kinsmen. Sorry, guys, I got a little. My nose is stuffed up. I thought this was going to get taken care of when I was at the beach, but it's not. So it's making pronouncing some of these words, reading some of these words clearly, more difficult than normal. And when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, the priests in their vestments came forward with trumpets, and the Levites, the son of Asaph, with cymbals to praise the Lord, according to the directions of David, king of Israel. And they sang responsively, praising and giving thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever toward Israel. It has. It certainly has. It has been, that steadfast love has been way more consistent, way more reliable, way more dependable than the love that Israel or Judah has shown for God. And it's not even close. They're almost polar opposites. Thanks, Veritex. And all the people shouted with a great shout when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the priests and Levites and heads of fathers' houses, old men who had seen the first house, wept with a loud voice when they saw the foundation of this house being laid. Though many shouted aloud for joy, so that the people could not distinguish the sound of the joyful shout from the sound of the people's weeping. For the people shouted with a great shout, and the sound was heard afar. So, I don't know. Let's see. How long was this exile? Let's see. 605 is when this started. When Jerusalem, so Israel had already been, but Jerusalem was raised in 605 BC. And then final 539 BC was when the return was allowed. And where is my... So I'm too tired to do maths in my head. And there's a calculator. 605. So 66 years. So the old men were children or young men, very young men, when they were driven out, when they saw this. And a lot of these guys, the men who were of real labor-bearing age, didn't know what this place used to look like. They'd only heard stories about it. 66 years, approximately, I guess. 66 years between the exile and the return. From Nebuchadnezzar II to Cyrus. Resistance to rebuilding the temple, because of course there would be. Wherever you find the work of the Lord being done, you're going to find people working to get in the way or destroy it or belittle it. Let's see what they have today. Now, that when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the returned exiles were building a temple to the Lord, the God of Israel, they approached Zerubbabel and the heads of fathers' houses and said to them, "Let us build with you, for we worship your God as you do. But we have been sacrificing to him ever since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." But Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the rest of the heads of the fathers' houses in Israel said to them, "You have nothing to do with us in building a house to our God, but we alone will build it to the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us." So that's nice, guys, but this is we're taking care of this ourselves. We're gonna handle this. Then the people of the land discouraged the people of Judah and made them afraid to build, and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Rebuilding of Jerusalem opposed. We're going to get more into this in Nehemiah as well. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, let's say Ahasuerus. No. Ahasuerus. In the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Ahasuerus. I like that. Ahasuerus. Thank you, Veritax. And in the days of Artaxerxes, Bishlam, Mithridath, and Tabeel, and the rest of their associates rode to Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The letter was written in Aramaic and translated. Rahum, the commander, and Shimshari, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, as follows. Then wrote Rahum, the commander, Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of their associates, the judges, the governors, the officials, the Persians, the men of Erech, the Babylonians, the men of Susa, that is, the Elamites. Don't confuse me, Nernath. Why you doing this? Why you do this, bruh? the men of Susa, that is, the Elamites, and the rest of the nations, whom the great and noble Osnappar deported and settled in the cities of Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river. And now this is a copy of the letter that they sent. So lots of people got behind this letter because there are lots of enemies of the Israelites. I guess we're calling them Hebrews now. I don't know. Lots of enemies of the Hebrews and lots of enemies of God. Even more enemies of God. To Artaxerxes the king, your servants, the men of the province beyond the river, send greeting. And now, be it known to the king that the Jews who came up from you to us have gone to Jerusalem. They are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. They are finishing the walls and repairing the foundations. Now, be it known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and the walls finished, they will not pay tribute, custom, or toll, and the royal revenue will be impaired. Now, because we eat the salt of the palace, and it is not fitting for us to witness the king's dishonor, therefore we send and inform the king, in order that search may be made in the book of the records of your fathers. You will find in the book of the records and learn that this city is a rebellious city, hurtful to kings and provinces, and that sedition was stirred up in it from old. and that's why this city was laid waste. We make known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and its walls finish, you will have no possession in the province beyond the river. Okay, now, to be fair, some of this is true. um, this city is a rebellious city. Yes, it is. I don't know, Nico. I don't know why they're Jews now. Why they're what? I don't know where they go from being Israelites, Hebrews, or Jews, or if they're all still applicable. Yes, we're in Ezra. We're talking. So the Jews, the Jewish people. I don't know what I'm allowed to say at this point. How the the Jews have been allowed to resettle and rebuild Jerusalem by Cyrus. And the conspirators tried to weasel their way into the rebuilding project, and the Hebrews told them basically to suck sand. The tribe of Nick. Yes. Basically the Hebrews told them to suck sand and get lost, and so they said, okay, well, we're going to write a letter to the king and tell him all about why he shouldn't be doing this. And so we were just reading the letter. We're getting ready to read the king's response. But there is some truth in what they're saying. Jerusalem was a very rebellious city, but not to kings and provinces, but to God. We just spent 4 books of the Bible learning about all the ways Jerusalem and Israel and Judah were rebellious to God. This is the whole reason why they're in the predicament that they're in. Other than that, as far as to kings and provinces, they were never, there were some points where they were beholden or ruled over by an exterior force, but it's only for maybe a generation, maybe 2. And then they win back their independence. But there is some cause for concern, except for one thing. God's talked to Cyrus, which is going to trump this letter, right? Let's find out. Let's find out what the king says. The king sent an answer to Rehum, the commander, and Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of their associates who live in Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river. Greeting. And now the letter which you sent to us has been plainly read before me. I've read it. It has been presented. Thank you. And I made a decree, and search has been made, and it has been found that the city from old has risen against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made in it. And mighty kings have been over Jerusalem, who ruled over the whole province beyond the river, to whom tribute, custom, and toll were paid. Therefore, make a decree that these men be made to cease, and that the city will not be rebuilt until a decree is made by me. And take care not to slacken this matter. Why should damage grow to the hurt of the king? Then, when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their associates, they went in haste to the Jews at Jerusalem, and by force and power made them cease. Then the work on the house of God, which is in Jerusalem, stopped, and it ceased until the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Oh no! Well, maybe it was too much to hope for, right? Gentile king, not really super attached to God. I mean, it seemed like he did understand that many of his successes had come from God. Gets told to do something, does it, but then somebody goes, "Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Let me tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't be doing that." And he does some research and he finds, oh, okay, this place was kind of a powerhouse back then, and given to striking out at its neighbors and any nation or faction who tried to rule over it and demand tribute and taxes and toll. So work is stopped. Work began, generous, very good, and then just as quickly it's done. And when the enemies of the Lord got a hold of that permit or that decree, they took it and with their militia, army, thugs, whatever, made the Hebrews stop their building by force and power. But this is good, right? They didn't just frighten the Hebrews into stopping. So fear isn't really necessarily what caused the Hebrews to stop the rebuilding, which would have shown a lack of faith, but force. They forced them to stop. And that's where we'll end up tonight. Yes. Are you sure about that 5 minutes? I don't know about that, Sean. Emmanuel, there have always been snakes in any time. The Bible even shows us this. Yeah. And here, obvious snakes are obvious because these were the guys who were put in place and they said, "Oh yeah, we've been worshiping your God." Again, you sure about that? That's fine. You worshiping our God? That's great. You keep doing that. We are going to do our own thing. I will tread on these snakes. Well, we'll pick up later. Pick up later on Tuesday? Maybe Monday. We have reached the end of the softball season, but we're in playoff mode right now, so I don't know if we don't have games on Monday night, we will pick up with this on Monday. Friday will be open topic, and it will probably be later than normal because we have not done movie night as a family in a few weeks. New baby arriving and all that. So want to make sure we're in intentionality is a good thing, especially in your faith and especially with your family. Be intentional, and that's what I need to be. I lead the household. I have a great support with my wife, and we both alarmed. Heresy alarm detected. Cue the heavy flamer. Get the flamer, brother. The heavy flamer. Look, I got a buddy. My best friend is starting to he's starting to fall in the trap that is Warhammer 40K. All right, and I've kind of helped this along because this is the kind of person I am. And he has now today gotten his first copy of the Horus Heresy, which is Horus Rising. And he has already ordered Space Wolves figurines. And he wants to know what army I'm going to be getting. And I'm like, I got the daggone time and money for this hobby. And we'll see if he does too, if he's in the same boat as me. But fear not, he is going to be a Space Wolf guy. And he is listening to 40K podcasts and doing all this stuff. So we might be talking more 40K in the near future. So I've been rereading through the Horus Heresy. I started that last week, maybe a little over a week before that, and then I'm in the middle of False Gods right now. So, with that said, guys, we're gonna wrap this stream up. So to Emmanuel Osorio, Figs, Veritax, Sean Bird, Nernaeth, my man Yex, Nico, Alex Moore, Blaine. Happy streaming tonight, Blaine. MR, I know you're gone, but we're thinking about you. Hoping everything improves. To you guys, thank you guys. Just even if it was one piece of quip, a little bit of words, and or just picking on me a little bit. I don't care. Bring it to the chat. That's great. You guys make this better, and you help this stream along. Great example, Veritax with adding the Deuteronomy citations for us to go back to kind of base where we're at with things. It's awesome. You guys make this show that much better. And the more y'all participate, the better the show gets. So if you want a better show, type more, like and subscribe, share the show, and that being said. So thank you guys. To everybody listening, to the wallflowers out there, or those who just aren't able to chat, thank you for tuning in. Glad you're getting enough content, enjoyable content, that you keep coming back. I think I said that at the beginning of the stream. I say that almost every night that I stream. I'm just happy that it's worthwhile for you guys. Hopefully it's helping you grow spiritually in some positive way. And to those of you guys who are catching the stream on the back end, hey, hope to catch you live soon. With that said, Emmanuel Osorio, more of a Necron, Black Templar, and Grey Knights. Yeah, he asked me about my army. I'm probably going to go Dark Angels or Grey Knights. We'll see. But again, I don't have time or money for this, so I'm probably not doing any of it. With that said, guys, probably streaming tomorrow, but it'll be a little bit later on in the evening. But have a great night, everybody. Good night.